What's going on, everybody? This is Tony from the RedBeard Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. In a couple of days, it is Christmas, guys. I'm excited. But this week, we got some cool stuff to talk about. Being that it is the holiday season, we're going to be talking about our top 3 Christmas movies of all time, which are our favorites and why they are. Also, we're going to be talking about some information regarding Nick Castle, who was the original Michael Myers, and he's returning to the new Halloween movie, which is going to be great. Also, crazy news, Slyvester Stallone was accused of sexual assault by a woman that apparently happened in 1987. And then some other news about something else that happened in 1990. So we'll be taking a look at that. Also, The Walking Dead mid-season winter finale happened. And if you guys didn't already know, Carl's gonna die. So we'll be talking about our thoughts on where the season's gonna go, also where The Walking Dead TV is gonna go versus The Walking Dead graphic novels, and finally some awesome information in the DC universe regarding Catwoman, Batman, Superman, and Lois Lane. So stick around.
RedBeard Podcast is brought to you by these cool dudes.
So what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? We got Jim and Cooley. What's going on, guys?
What up?
Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, dude, Merry Christmas. We got like 3 days until actual Christmas is going to happen. The actual Christmas, not the fake Christmas.
And other holidays, too. I'm not excluding you.
Yeah, man. So this is crazy, man. This is actually officially our Christmas episode. So we're going to talk about a lot of good stuff. But you guys have not seen Star Wars. You already saw it.
Yep.
And I am going tonight. So next week I will have we'll be able to get into like a full Star Wars episode.
Yeah,
where we can
I'm excited
talk about our thoughts.
I will see it the day after Christmas. I know I'm the late bloomer.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's good, man, because you'll have like some time to digest what you saw, and then we can kind of get into the nitty gritty. So
Yeah, like I saw it twice now.
Yeah.
And the times, like the second time that I saw it, like actually tied up a lot of stuff that I saw the first time, and like with things that I missed and stuff like that. So I actually encourage you to see it twice.
Mm-hmm. I'll try my best.
Before you formulate an opinion.
Okay.
Because like the opinion that I had the first time was a little bit skewed because of things that I missed, and now like I love the movie even more than I loved the movie the first time.
excellent.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to. I'm looking forward to it because I've been waiting about a week and I've been hearing mixed things. So tonight should be fun when I check it out. But on another note, one movie that I did see last week that I know you guys are probably surprised that I went to actually check out was Daddy's Home 2. So,
Not surprised.
Not at all.
You're not surprised? Why not?
You saw Baywatch.
I went because Becca wanted to go.
I mean, how can you not resist? There's Mel Gibson.
Right.
He's making a comeback.
Yeah, he is.
You know, people are over his anti-Semitic slurs.
John Lithgow.
Huh?
Dude, can I
Trinity Killer.
Can I be honest with you? That is the only reason why I wanted to go see this was because of him. And he did not let down. Like, just a quick thoughts on Daddy's Home 2. Like, Mel Gibson was actually pretty damn funny because he was like just like the asshole father.
Good.
That would just, you know, basically say things that he just has no filter, which is kind of like Mel Gibson in real life. But he was really good. I thought that Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, you know, they had like their ridiculous back and forth. It was very It was better than the original Daddy's Home, but it reminded me of their banter in The Other Guys.
Oh, good.
It was
I like
actually-
The Other Guys.
Yeah, it was funny like that. But John Lithgow just added like this cheesy dad like element to it where he's just like so awkward. And if you remember like John Lithgow from like Harry and the Hendersons, I mean, like he's just goofy. you know, and like him from Third Rock from the Sun. It was like a mix of those two characters. So it was actually a lot of fun. And knowing that he was the Trinity Killer and seeing him as a completely different character just makes me laugh in general. So I would check it out when it comes to Netflix or wherever, because you guys probably won't want to pay for it. But I enjoyed it.
Good. I still haven't seen the first one.
Well, it's not. It's Becca tried to watch the first one before we went to the second one, and she fell asleep. So
I'm gonna go see it in 3D.
Yeah, 3D. Good for you, man.
IMAX.
One interesting fact, though. In the second one, Becca fell asleep like 20 minutes in and was asleep for the entire movie. I was just watching it by myself, but it was hilarious.
That was a good use of $15.
Yeah. It actually wasn't that bad. It was like we went on Tuesday, so it was like cheap tickets. But on another note, being that Daddy's Home is a Christmas-themed movie, I definitely want to talk to you guys this week about what our 3 top Christmas movies are. Because, you know, we're in the Christmas season. I'm sure that we've probably watched a couple of these movies if it's a tradition for us to watch them. So which one of you guys would like to go first? Or would you like me to go first?
You can go.
All right, cool, man. So my number 3 Christmas movie that I have to watch each year is going to be Mickey's Christmas Carol. So that's a big one for me. It's a cartoon, but I've been watching it every year since I was a kid.
All right.
So it's kind of like that thing I have to watch. If you haven't seen Mickey's Christmas Carol, it's done really well. Scrooge McDuck is basically, you know, Donald Duck, and he's just kind of like, you know, grumpy, counting his coins. And then it's just, you know, the whole thing happens like a Christmas Carol would,
right.
But it's all with the Disney characters.
So I don't want to like be that guy that corrects you, but Scrooge McDuck is actually just Scrooge McDuck. He's not Donald.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry.
You meant
so
that he
actually,
was
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Scrooge,
yeah. So, but they call him like that's what they call him in the actual Mickey's Christmas Carol.
And then he's got what is it? Huey, Dewey, and Louie?
Yeah,
his nephews.
Yeah, those are like his nephews that are like, you know, they're putting like the coal in like the heater in the beginning, and but it's just a really well done Disney movie that I feel like over the years people have kind of forgotten about, but it was always on TV during Christmas time, and my parents like recorded it, and then I would just watch it like every Christmas. So, and A Christmas Carol is my favorite Christmas story. Mm-hmm. It was actually a tradition when I was a kid. We would actually go to Trinity every year and see a Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve. And that was kind of cool because, you know, it takes place on Christmas Eve. So it really kind of puts you into the Christmas Eve spirit. So if I don't go, I haven't gone the past couple years. That movie kind of really just like puts me there. So that's my number 3. With that being said, you guys can take the next one, whoever wants to go.
Oh, we're going to do 3, then 2, then 1?
Yeah, let's just go around. Yeah, totally.
You know, I had a bunch of them that I was thinking of for 3, and I kept flip-flopping them out, but I'm going to go with this one. A lot of people love it right now. They call it the Christmas movie. It's not really, but I still absolutely love it, and that's Die Hard.
I'm
such a huge Bruce Willis fan.
Yep.
I watch it every year, and I think my favorite part about it is that there's so many lines that are memorable and that you can say. There's the yippee-ki-yay. Mm-hmm. There's the, do you think that I'm ordering a pizza? There's, come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. You know, welcome to the party. Hey, Al. It's what made Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the other Die Hards, not as good. The original was excellent. I love it. Gets me in the mood. I love Murder Under the Mistletoe.
Murder Under the Mistletoe. That's awesome. And I love how Die Hard is one of those movies that everybody's like, dude, it's not a Christmas movie, but it totally is. It just totally is.
It's also very polarizing.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people go, not only is it not a good Christmas movie, it's not a good movie. And I'm like,
well, no, it's a good movie.
Enjoy
I don't know who
it.
the hell would think that. I mean, that's a very quotable movie. Don and I were going back and forth with that. What was it? I think 2 days ago, and we were talking about Die Hard, and like the amount of quotes is like endless.
Oh yeah, the whole movie is just quotes. Anyways,
Cooley. What's your number 3?
Well, I'm going to say A Year Without a Santa Claus
Wow. Okay.
is
Word.
my third favorite Christmas movie.
Explain.
Well, you guys know what that is?
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any explanation necessary. but,
All right.
but for those that don't know
Yeah.
what it is, this is like it's claymation,
Yeah.
right? Like it's claymation. It's a Rudolph like Santa Claus movie that was made for TV, and it was just awesome. Like it like told the story of Santa Claus like from beginning to end, and Santa Claus just kind of like stopped being Santa. And it was the story of how they got him to realize that he needed to, come back into the game and do his thing. It was almost like it's like and I never put this together until just now. Like he's basically like the reluctant like samurai, the one that put down his sword and didn't want to pick it up, and then all of a sudden he found out that there was a need for him, and he picks up his sword and becomes a hero again. But there's like this adventure, and like you see the abominable snowman.
Yep.
I was going to call him the Abdominable, which
He's just
like
ripped.
yeah, he's super ripped. Does a lot of sit-ups. The Abominable Snowman. You have the Heat Miser and
Yep.
the Miser brothers, basically like the heat and the cold, and like they have their little song and dance number,
Yeah.
which is probably one of the most memorable like musical scenes that I've seen in a show or a movie. It's just fun. It's
Yeah.
a fun like claymation movie that I enjoy every Christmas, and I'm looking forward to watching it again.
All right, word, man. My number two may come as a surprise to some of you guys, but it's Gremlins. Gremlins is definitely always will be a Christmas movie, and there's a couple different reasons why it's my favorite Christmas movie. One, I just love the film. I love like the cheesy horror of Gremlins. I think that the Gremlins themselves are hilarious. I've thought Gizmo was like adorable, like just since I like watched Gremlins for the first time. And at the very beginning of the movie, it actually has my favorite Christmas song of all time. It is it's by Darlene Love, and it's just it's called Christmas. So that is one reason why that film just kind of holds such an awesome place in my heart. I have to watch it every year. I also I like the fact that they have there's a really dark story that's told, and it's about I forgot the character's name, but she's talking about her father and how every year he would try to surprise them for Christmas, and one year he like slips in the chimney and breaks his neck. And like he's been dead in like the fireplace for like 2 days, and no one knows. And it's like they
Sounds
start
like
to
my
actually,
kind of movie.
You've never seen Gremlins before?
I have a long time ago.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't remember that speech where she talks about like how her father died in the chimney?
I'll be honest with you. I have seen Gremlins 2 an insane amount of times.
The new batch.
But Gremlins was never high on the list.
Yeah, I feel like Gremlins 2 was more of like a funny film. Like they actually made fun of Gremlins, whereas the first one was released as more of like a serious kind of horror film.
I agree.
But I mean, it's just the fact that they can actually tell that really dark story, but he's like dressed up as Santa Claus when he dies. Like, I don't know, there's just a very creepy like aspect to it where that horror comes in.
Right.
But yeah, it takes place during Christmas, so it's definitely going to be one of those movies I always will watch during Christmas time. So with that being said, Jim, number two.
Number 2, random movie. It's called Go. It's an anthology movie. It all bases around a Christmas rave. I was a big drug fiend back in the day, and I used to love going to clubs. So Christmas was a big time to go hit the clubs, and this movie was excellent. Sarah Polley, and Katie Holmes stole drugs from Timothy Oliphant, and they sold it at a rave and made a bunch of money. Afterwards, Sarah Polley got hit by a car and was left in a ditch. She's fine, though. She's fine. Jay Moore and Matthew Fox tries to get a party established. They are, what is it? They get arrested and now are working with the cops to try and stop Timothy Oliphant, who's a drug dealer, but instead they capture Sarah Polley. Then there's also another story where some friends of Sarah Polley's go to Vegas and kill someone. It's so much fun.
Does Matthew Fox do the bobblehead thing?
Does he do the bobblehead thing?
Like
oh,
when
of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
yes,
that's like
definitely.
that's like his shtick, right?
The
Like
Jay
his-
Leno. Where it's, well,
Yeah.
no one saw me hit my head.
Yeah.
into the-
That shit used to drive me insane when I went on Lost. Like I every scene that he did, like his head would just be like moving all over the place.
Oh shoot!
While he's talking.
I'm saying the wrong person then. It's not Matthew Fox. It's the kid from Party of Five. I'm not gonna have time to look this up.
Okay.
I will fix it in a second, but it's not Matthew Fox from Lost. It's a different guy from the TV show Party of Five. But anyways, I love that movie. I have that movie in my DVD section. I haven't translated it to Blu-ray yet, but it's
Are
if
you
you've
gonna
never
go
seen it,
watch it this week?
I will 100% watch it. Yes,
Scott
Sick.
Wolf.
Thank you, Scott Wolf.
Scott
You're
Wolf.
welcome.
Yep.
Matt, I knew that it had an animal for the last name.
All right, man. Cooley, number 2.
My number 2 is going to be National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
So good.
Yeah,
good.
it's a classic. I mean, every time I watch it, it's still friggin' hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Quaid is a beast in that movie. Like, as far as like he's a comedic beast,
Yeah, he
right?
is.
Like, he's just like everything that he says is just like right on time. It's perfect. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Chevy Chase, I mean, is Chevy Chase. You can't do better than Chevy Chase in his prime. It's just it's the perfect Christmas movie.
Yeah, it really is excellent. I think the best part of that movie, or the element that it brings in, is the stress that the holiday brings.
Yeah.
And like, you want to see your family, but like all the shit that comes along with it
Yep.
sometimes, you know.
Especially the Christmas bonus.
Oh God, that
Like
is
he's
perfect.
just counting on the Christmas bonus the
Yeah.
whole time. He's already got the in-ground pool planned out. He's
Right,
like ready
right.
to rock, and he gets the fucking jelly of the month
Yeah.
club. Like it's like it's so perfect because it's like what happens in real life. Like
Yeah.
it's like the comedy is just based on real shit, and that's the best comedy in the world to me. And it really hits home. And the Neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Was Julia
Louis-Dreyfus
Louis-Dreyfus
is in it, yeah.
is great. Her husband in that, I don't know who he is, but he does a great job of just being like her yes man.
Mm-hmm.
But she's awesome. Like she brings like
She
a lot of
killed it
fire.
in
She
that.
brings a lot of fire to it. Like in her roles, like just the fact that I remember that she's in it and
Mm-hmm.
she's only in it for maybe 5 minutes of the movie. That shows you how good she is. Like
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. It's a great movie. And again, I don't think it needs an explanation. I mean, if you've seen it, then you know what I'm talking about.
I think there's 3 lines in that movie that I always laugh at. One is where like he has his flip out about his boss, and right at the end he goes, "Where's the Tylenol?" and then like after he like loses it, he's drinking out of the whatever the eggnog, and he's like, it's good. He's like trying to keep calm, and then his cousin Eddie at one point he's like, "Oh, I had to get that plate removed." He's like, "Because every time she turned on the microwave, I pissed my pants and forget who I was." So I mean, like, there's a lot of like memorable lines. Also, like Die Hard, like an extremely quotable movie. Yeah. So
I like when the model's like talking to him and trying to like sell him like perfume or something, and he's just like, it's nipply outside.
yeah. Definitely. It's awesome.
What's your number 2?
Number
Number one.
Number one.
Number
Down
one
number
now.
one.
Oh my God.
Down to
I'm
the
living in
best.
the past.
It was quick, man.
Gotta let the past go, brother.
My number 1 is a film that came out in 1990. It is officially the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time, which made $285 million.
Jurassic Park.
Right. It's actually the different one. It's called Home Alone. Home Alone is just always going to be that movie that I have to watch at Christmas time. It still holds up for me, makes me laugh. I personally really enjoy it because I'm the type of person that used to like set traps around the house for Santa Claus. So the fact that he's like building all these things in the house was really fascinating to me. I mean, it's just a great movie. It has every element of what you want in a Christmas movie. It has the comedy, but it also has like the heartfelt moments at the end where like his family comes home, on Christmas Day. You have these random characters too that kind of bring in the Christmas spirit along the way, like John Candy. He plays like, the Kenosha Kickers, like, the lead singer of the group. And like they offer his mother a ride home because she doesn't have one. So it's stuff like that. And he's like, of course we'll give you a ride. It's Christmas time. It's like, so it really brings like that holiday spirit. And it's just so damn good. And it has the cast of characters. You got, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern are perfect together. And they just really play off each other really well. And some fun facts about that movie. Originally, I've read this multiple times. I've yet to have it actually confirmed. I don't know if it's a theory or not, but every time I watch the movie, I think about it. Joe Pesci, I heard, was under the impression that he was going to be able to actually swear in the movie, which is weird because it's actually, I think, like a family-friendly movie. But then they told him that he wasn't going to be able to, which is why he holds back every time he gets pissed. And he has to like muffle what he says.
Which makes it better.
Exactly. Because in a real life situation, he probably would not be holding back. He'd be like letting loose. So the fact that like he actually censors himself in that situation is great. But Home Alone is definitely my number one. I've already watched it twice this year. I still have to also watch the second one. But that movie was a close tie between National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and also one that I have to watch every year, which is Rudolph the Claymation.
That's a classic.
I used to watch that every day as a kid, even when it wasn't Christmas time. But as I've gotten older, I find myself watching Home Alone more than those other two. So that takes a number one. So, Jim.
Okay, before I get to my number one, I just want to give a quick shout out to my number 4, Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Love that movie,
Love
dude.
that. It's another take on the Christmas Carol.
Yep.
My favorite Christmas movie of all time, A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Really?
I love it. It's so short. It's shorter than the finale of The Walking Dead. It's less than an hour and 20 minutes. But I absolutely love the whole monsters trying to save Santa Claus. The songs are very catchy to me. I remember them. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Yep.
Aren't you scared?
And Chris Sarandon was the voice of Jack Skellington, and I guess Danny Elfman sang the songs, right?
Danny Elfman did all the music to it. It was one of those movies, claymation, that I felt like that was like the height of claymation. It did such a good job. There was just the characters, the ambiance of it. It was creepy, but for a Christmas movie, I don't know. I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
I don't go traditional. I think this is a little more traditional than others, but it's the darker aspect of it that I absolutely love. I loved when Jack Skellington is giving all the presents to the girls and boys and they're coming to life and attacking the kids. They're all fine. They're claymation, even though. So,
well, I mean, like, I think if anything, it's that darkness, and it's so Tim Burton. Like, you watch that and you're like, okay.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that was classic Tim Burton.
But the fact that it's dark, it doesn't surprise me that you actually like it. I don't know why. It makes sense now. So, all right, Cooley, man, what's going on? You're number one.
Yo, number one for me. I'm going to go back to 1983.
All right.
This is the year that Return of the Jedi came out, which didn't come out during Christmas, so that's not my favorite Christmas movie, but I just figured I'd mention it. 1983, it is the story of Ralphie Parker and the Parkers during Christmas, A Christmas Story.
Before we actually recorded this, I knew that was it too.
Oh, of course you did.
I know.
Yeah. It's to me, every year it's a hilarious romp through the holiday season. Just watching them go through their little family things, and I know it's like slapstick humor. It's not the same humor that you would get out of a National Lampoon's. It's definitely slapstick. It's definitely something that should be a one and done joke. But the fact that it's a tradition for me, it just every year brings a smile to my face to watch that. Like I have a lot of the props, like not props, but like the stuff like the replicas that came out, like the lamp, the leg lamp, the I've got like action figures of Ralphie and his brother, and like when he has like all the jackets on and all the layers that stop him from being able to move his arms, which to me was hilarious. Like he's like, I can't move my arms, and she's like, you can move them later when you get to school. and it's just like there's just like so many good moments in that movie, and they murdered that shit this year and really made me angry when they tried to make it into a live musical on Fox.
It was awful.
Like I wanted to vomit. I almost did, and I'm really upset about that. But Christmas Story, my number one, and that's it.
I agree with you, man. I as you know, I mean, it's not my favorite Christmas movies, but I totally agree with you. I did watch 70% of A Christmas Story live on Fox, and then I turned it off because it was god awful. They tried to make it into a musical when it shouldn't be, and it bored me to death. But the movie obviously still holds like a special place in your heart, man, and a lot of people love it. So you're number one, man. That's awesome. So those are all of our top 3 Christmas movies. And that's all we got on that. Yo, so something else that actually is not related to anything Christmas, is exactly the opposite, is the new Halloween that the movie is actually coming out has some pretty interesting information behind it. One being 2 things. Jamie Lee Curtis is actually coming back. And she's going to be reprising her role as Laurie Strode, which is great. The original Michael Myers, Nick Castle, has agreed to come back and play Michael Myers, which I think is great. I'm super excited about this because we've had different actors actually try to play Michael Myers before, and I feel like they've done a decent job. But I feel like Halloween was Halloween because of what that actor brought to the character, and the fact that he's actually bringing that back, knowing that he's actually the man behind the mask, so to speak, is actually going to make that character even more powerful. This is actually going to be a continuation of the Rob Zombie directed Halloween, but he is not coming back to direct this one. So with that being said, I mean, how do you guys feel about this? I mean, do you think it's cool to have this guy come back like so many years later and reprise the role of Michael Myers? I mean, just play him again?
I think it's cool. I think it's always fun when you have somebody reprise their role from a previous movie. Mm-hmm. Do I think that it's ultimately necessary? No, it's a man in a black suit with a William Shatner mask, and he walks slow and stabs people. It's kind of like, Jason Voorhees.
Right.
Like if who's the guy that plays Jason?
Oh my God, dude. I can't believe I'm Kane Hodder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane Hodder was the ultimate Jason, but there have been other Jasons, and it's not really noticeable.
Right. I guess my point is but knowing the guy who played the original Michael Myers is playing him again
gives it some credibility.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
For me, it's like if David Prowse decided that he was going to be Darth Vader again.
Yeah.
I mean, the only problem is that it is a guy in a mask,
right? That
we never see who the actual actor is. So I think the other people that played Michael Myers and just like the other people that played Darth Vader, I mean, it's really hard to tell that it's not that dude. But knowing that it's the original one is almost like a nostalgia piece to it. That's
kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah. That makes you excited to see what he brings to it again, like, or if there's any nuances that you're like, oh wow, now I really feel like it's Michael Myers again or whatever. Like, I just never got taken out of Michael Myers being there. It's just like Jamie Lee Curtis to me is a little more exciting because I can see her face and I can see, that it's her.
Yeah. I think it's cool that she's going to be working like with the original guy again. Like how many years later?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they basically made this like franchise like what it is because of that first Halloween movie. So the fact that they're back together again is pretty awesome.
Again, yeah, nostalgia. I think it's a little wild that we're kind of taking the two Halloweens. We're taking the original Nick Castle, Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween movies and blending it into the Rob Zombie Halloween franchise. And kind of, I feel like they're trying to take the best of both worlds and mashing it together so that if you're a fan of one or the other Halloween franchise, you're going to get a little taste of both.
Yeah, because I feel like there are probably a good amount of people who will go to see this that haven't seen all the originals, and I think that's why they're doing that exactly. So that's a good point.
Busta Rhymes won't be back though.
Yeah, which I guess I'm okay with. I don't know. Busta Rhymes, man, he hasn't done anything in a while.
No, he has.
Does he? Dude,
yeah, he drops albums all the time.
But they're obviously not doing that well. I don't know.
He randomly shows up on the radio, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Busta.
He was at the BET Awards, and I didn't recognize him.
You know right away when he's rapping.
Yeah, it's been 39 years, by the way, since Halloween came out.
That's insane, dude. That's
39.
Insane. I think the only one that I remember seeing the last Halloween Rob Zombie one in theaters, and before that I remember going to see Halloween H2O, and that was the last one that Jamie Lee Curtis was in.
Like, what sucks though is that like I'm still older than Halloween, the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm 44.
I would never know.
It's 30. That movie's 39 years old.
How does that make you feel, dude?
So bad.
You're aging well.
So bad.
Well, regardless, I mean, like, you're totally going to go see this, right?
Of course.
Hell yeah, man. We should all go. I'd be pumped to see this, dude. I guess.
Of course I'm going to see this. It's fucking like legend.
Yeah.
Like Halloween is a legendary movie. It's like there are very few movies that I put in like the legendary spot. It's like you have Star Wars, you have Halloween, you have the original Friday the 13th run, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like those are the ones that I consider legendary films.
Yeah. Which we need Robert Englund, you need to come back and be Freddy Krueger again.
Oh, that would be awesome.
You got to do it.
I feel like he would have to just come back once and close it out. Just do it one more time.
And he could do it. I mean, it's makeup. Just throw the makeup on.
It's all makeup.
No, he could do it, man. On another note, somebody who's also like a huge celebrity that everybody knows recently popped up in the news on TMZ. So Slyvester Stallone was accused of sexual assault. Here we go. Here's another one being accused in this whole like Hollywood craze of
It's not going to end.
I mean, it really, dude. That's kind of what I keep thinking. It's just like ongoing now. But the thing about this is that this girl actually accused him of sexually assaulting her or raping her in 1990.
27
years ago. And in California, there's a statute of limitations, which is 10 years. So technically, like, after that 10-year mark, it's hard to prove anything without any evidence. And I guess they did work together on a film, but he was like on the set with her for 3 days. And he was like, there was no... He's like, this is all completely false. He's like, she doesn't have any evidence that this ever happened. And even the police department is saying that, like, it's kind of like a he said, she said at this point, because it was 27 years ago and she never filed a police report. She filed a police report a month ago in November.
Right, but
27 years after this happened. And not to say that it may not have happened, but it's 27 years ago and she's got no evidence. It's kind of hard to...
I mean, like, just... Where... So, I mean, like, I know... I get what you're saying. There's the... But there was a thing where it says, like, she has, like, some shady... like parts of her accusation, I guess, like that make it seem like they're unfounded. what are the things that make it seem unfounded aside from how long ago it was? Like, because I'll be honest with you, I mean, it doesn't matter how long ago somebody did something as vile as rape, and she may not have come forward or put a police report in because she was afraid to do that, which now, like with all the stuff going on, it's like people are empowered, like women are empowered to actually come forward, and they're not as afraid. So to me, that's not like none of that stuff, the statute of limitations, how long ago it was, the fact that she didn't file a police report, none of those things are valid to me when it comes to whether or not she should be coming forward. It's, did she do it, and did he do it, and what is making her allegations like not seem correct or true?
So, not that the allegations may or may not be true. It just seems like there's some things that aren't lining up. So, first of all, Stallone denied the allegation completely, but he admits that he had spent 3 days with her during a 1987 movie shoot in Israel. He was single. He said she was not a minor, and says there was never a rape. He also denies that he saw her at all in 1990. So he filmed a movie with her in 1987, but she's saying that this rape happened in 1990, and there's nothing that said there's no evidence that they ever crossed paths again in 1990. Like if you look at what their schedules were and what they were doing, it doesn't match up. So that's where these accusations seem a little false. And Stallone is actually pressing charges against her for filing a false police report. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that have come forward and say like, oh, like they have apologized for things that they've been accused for. He's the first one that I know of that is actually filing a police report back on this person, like charges for a false report. So, you know, and I'm sure that with his schedule and him being like a pretty big movie star in 1987, 1990s like era, they could probably look up exactly like where he was and what his schedule will shoot, you know, via contracts that were signed for a movie, for filmings of different, you know, films, whatever, and like schedule shoots and stuff like that. I'm sure that they can narrow that down if need be. But I agree with you.
But then there's also the fact that you have people that have been accused, a lot of people that have been accused in the last like 6 months, right? And we see what happens to them, right? We see like what happens to their careers. They're just like basically they're gone. Like they just like become nobodies, right? And then I think going forward, you're going to have a lot more people that are going to be like, nope, didn't happen. That's BS. Like, they're not going to apologize for that. And like, actually, what happens when you apologize? What happens when you come forward? You get erased from Hollywood. You know what I mean? And then you got to work your ass off to try and get back into the good graces of the people. Stallone, whoever else gets accused, they're not going to want to go through that. So the fact that he's fighting it doesn't really mean anything to me either.
But here's my problem though, and my look. I mean, you get accused for something, great, but there are probably guys out there that have gotten accused that didn't do anything, you know. And I think it's kind of screwed up that in some respects, these guys, the careers of these men get destroyed on allegations that are allegations,
right?
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that some of the people that have gotten accused have actually done these things.
Correct.
But there's a part of me that thinks there's the other side of the coin where maybe they didn't do these things. And this is just kind of like that time in the media where you can like accuse somebody of something and try to get some money out of it and sue them. And I don't feel like it's fair to say that they did it just because of an allegation. There's also the other side where it may not have happened.
Right.
You know,
I draw some parallels between this and steroid use in baseball in like the 90s and the early millennium. Obviously, rape is much more severe than steroid use. I completely understand that. The only reason I draw the parallel is because just like in Hollywood today, when when it started coming out that people used steroids in baseball, you could just throw a name out there and your career, your legacy was tarnished, even though that there was no real evidence to show that you actually did anything. Some people were kept out of the Hall of Fame just on the belief that there's a possibility that they might have done steroids.
Well, didn't they have like a test, like a drug test?
There are tests now, yes, but at the time there wasn't. Names were getting leaked that maybe they did something, but there was never any proof.
Right.
David Ortiz is one person that is probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, probably won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer because they said that he did steroids. And he's never failed a drug test. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying he's never failed a drug test. But there's still the idea that he possibly has. So, so his legacy is to an extent tarnished. Again, we're not talking about rape. Rape is in a whole other class.
Right.
I'm just talking about legacies and how saying somebody did something can ruin a reputation.
Right.
And I think that's my point. It's like this person's reputation is on the line. And if they didn't do it, it's just, that's got to be an awful feeling, man, to be accused of something that you're not guilty of and having to actually convince everybody else that this didn't happen. Because it does put kind of like a stain on your persona, and I feel like if it didn't happen, that's unfair. But if it did, then, you got to be responsible for your actions.
Of course.
So we'll see what happens with Slyvester Stallone. This is all very new, but it's just another one that we're hearing about now. So
if it's accurate, this guy should totally get what he deserves. Go to jail. If not, F her. She's just looking for that stopper. My mom will shoot money.
Right, and Creed 2 will continue. So that's all we got about that. Supply and demand investing, where not all investments are created equal.
Yo, Tony, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Yo, man, want to play a game of Would You Rather?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Word. Yo, so would you rather invest in eBay at a 0% dividend per year over the course of 3 years, or invest in Amazon at a 0% dividend per year over the course of 3 years?
Oh, dude, that's easy, man. I would go with Amazon because Amazon makes a killing. They sell everything, and I use Amazon like twice a week, and I know that they are killing it this month in the Christmas season.
All right, well, that's that. I think that's a sound decision. Find out if you made the right decision by checking supplyanddemandinvesting.com/RedBeard. Supply and Demand Investing is here to offer guidance when it comes to investing. Whether you want to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or exchange-traded funds, Supply and Demand Investing is here to help.
And unlike the buy and hold method of investing of the past, Supply and Demand Investing is comparative to any good sports team. There are good times to play offense by investing your hard-earned money in things like the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, real estate, or international equity. And there are times to play defense by investing in fixed income, higher dividend-paying assets like bonds, CDs, or cash. So check out supplyanddemandinvesting.com/RedBeard.
Yeah, so The Walking Dead wrapped up its mid-season finale recently, and I think we've all had a chance to watch it now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
So what do we think about Carl's death?
Did not see it coming at all. I don't think a lot of people did.
Nope.
For me, I was a little bummed out when it happened, but it also seemed like a very realistic thing to me. Just because he was in the middle of like this entire town where there's like smoke everywhere and you can't see anything. So it doesn't surprise me. Like a walker probably came out of nowhere and grabbed him, and he might have not been able to do anything.
Well, no, I think he actually said that he got bit when he was bringing the new guy back to Alexandria.
I didn't get that at all. I actually thought I actually thought that the new guy actually, like he said, I thought he said like I found him.
Yeah, no, he said. So Rick saw him and he was like, yeah, that whole
Yeah.
like what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
And Carl was like, I brought him here, and he was like, that's how this happened.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, but regardless, I mean, like I feel like it happened out in that, Alexandria that was under attack.
Like so he
like,
but he already had that. He already had that when he was talking to Negan.
Because I didn't get that at all.
Because that's why he was ready to die. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like I
what was
connected those
implied.
dots. Like it was like
Yeah, I didn't
he
get
got
that
up
at
there.
all.
He was like, kill me. Mm-hmm. Kill me. Just do it to me. Like because he knew that his chapter was written and he was done already. So like Negan bashing his brains out or whatever and killing him wasn't gonna change anything because he was gonna die anyway. But it would have saved somebody in his camp. So he was ready to sacrifice himself, like, and just die maybe a day earlier than what he was going to die anyway.
Yeah, dude, I totally just did not connect the dots on that at all. And I watched it twice. You know what I mean? Didn't connect that at all. I just felt like Carl was like, I feel like he's a very honorable person.
Yeah.
And I felt, like he saved this guy that like his father shot a bullet over his head, to like scare him away. So I feel like deep down he's a good guy, and he was just basically telling Negan, like, if you're gonna kill somebody, like if it's gonna save everybody else that I care about, then take me. But I didn't know that at that point he had already been bitten. I mean, that kind of changes how I feel about him. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it definitely is a big character that The Walking Dead is losing. A lot of people love Carl. I feel like he's kind of another Glenn. So, I don't know. I really don't know exactly where this is going to go. Other than I know that Rick is going to be extremely pissed. Already is basically losing his mind and doesn't know how to deal with it. You can just kind of see it in his face. I feel like this is just going to give him even more of a reason to go after Negan. They kind of had a little bit of a shuffle, which I wish had lasted a little bit longer. But I think he was, preoccupied with making sure that like other people in the town were safe. Because he went into that house looking for Carl specifically. But anyway, what do you think? I mean, what do you guys think about this? I mean, Jim, do you have any like thoughts when you found out like Carl was bitten?
I think I'm with everybody else. I was absolutely shocked. I remember that they were talking, the producers of The Walking Dead were stating for a good week and a half, get ready because you're going to see something absolutely shocking. There's going to be a moment that you're going to be talking about. And I watched the episode, and it was a good episode. There was a lot of action going on. Everything was happening. And I remember sitting there watching it, and right up until the very last moment, because this happened right at the end.
Yeah.
I'm going, oh, typical Walking Dead. I was like, built everything up, and then nothing really happened. And then Carl. And it was just like, like everything kind of went narrow vision. And what I love the most about this, because I'm a big fan of them killing off main characters, you never see it coming, and it always has such a big impact on the storyline. But I think the biggest thing is Carl in the comic books is a big character going forward.
Right.
And he is now terminated. What does this mean for the show? Which is exciting because now it brings it into new territory.
Right.
There's so many people that kind of look at the book and then look at the TV show and kind of make a linear correlation to this is what's going to happen because I read the novels. Well, now we just killed off a main character.
Right.
I mean, you said that to me like the day after. Like we kind of ran into each other, and you were like, "Oh, did you see last night's episode?" And I was like, "Yeah." And you were like, "Oh, like awesome." You're like, I don't know what they're gonna do now because like Carl he's alive in the comics,
Right.
So like you're like I'm excited because I don't know what happens. Like you have nothing to correlate it to. So I mean, do you think this is something that like the writer actually decided. The guy of The Walking Dead, what's his name? Kirkman. You think it's something that Kirkman like approved or like has any control over at this point? I mean,
I'm sure he has control over just about everything in the show. Like, I mean, I'm sure they run everything by him to make sure that it's like, you know, in line with what he's thinking and what his creative process is. But if he's not that involved, and if he doesn't have that much control, then shame on AMC, because this is his baby. And you know, if they go forward without, you know, consulting him, they may start losing viewers.
Right.
But I think it's in line with what he wants, and I think the whole idea is that, you know, they have what's her name, Judith.
Yes.
And Judith is not in the comics because she died before she was even born, which was sad. But Carl lives on in the comics. Judith lives on in the show. Rick has one baby in each, right? Like, he has one living child that he has to care for and make sure that, you know, their life is you know, protected in both instances. So I think the differences are going to be just gender. I mean, you have a daughter and you have a son, and hopefully that's, I mean, hopefully it's more than that. Hopefully they go deeper than that. But I have a feeling that that's kind of what they were doing, because like in the show, he's got 2 kids, and it's just a little, it's like he's got this family. He's got this huge family. And you know, in the books, he doesn't have that. So like, I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to bring it more in line with the books, but they couldn't kill a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I was actually thinking something else. I think that now that they killed off Carl, this is the first situation where I think they've done something in the comic books that will directly affect, it'll jut the TV show into a different path than the comic books would. I think now there's a lot of people that watch the TV show, that read the comic books, and they almost expect certain things to happen. Like, they know what the future holds for the TV show because they read the comic books.
That was like what happened with Glenn. Like, everybody expected like Glenn to get his like head bashed in. You know.
And now that we killed off Carl, I think that sends a ripple effect, because now we can make the Walking Dead TV show a separate entity from the comic books. And it's kind of like, hey, if they're willing to kill off Carl, what else are they going to do? We can go into a completely different storyline.
Here's my theory on this. Even though The Walking Dead is still a huge show, I feel like just through social media, I see like a lot of people are putting like, you know, is anybody else like getting sick of The Walking Dead? And a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, like I was done watching it 2 seasons ago. I don't really care anymore. Like I'm kind of over it, you know. And I feel like this, who knows? This is just a theory. Maybe they're actually like straying it away from the comics. The comics will keep going, but the TV show will probably like end in another like season or 2. Like, because in my opinion, I mean, there's been shows out there that have gone for, I think the longest running sitcom was Seinfeld, which was 10 years. So shows like can go that long. The Walking Dead could be one of them, but I mean, how much longer can you let this show go? I feel like people are actually starting to drop off because they're just kind of getting tired of like the cliffhangers, and they're like, okay, like cool. Like, I don't know. I just feel like some people are losing their drive with the show, and they want to maybe finish it off before it goes stale. Parallel being one of my favorite shows, Dexter. Like, they dragged that out, and it had a shitty ending. You know, I would hate for The Walking Dead, which has such a great following and it's been such a good show, to keep going, and then they just ended on a shitty note.
Difference
between
a show like Dexter and The Walking Dead, though, is that Dexter and like a lot of shows like that are dependent on, you know, who the villain is, right? Who's the flavor of the season, right? Like, and trying to be creative and come up with like because each serial killer had their own like MO, right? That he had to find, and like they kept like amping it up season after season, and trying to make it as like and it just became outlandish eventually. Like what's the one with Colin Hanks?
Oh yeah, I mean
you had that one where like he was like it was like this whole like it was all religious, and like you had these like fucking like
the Doomsday Killers, wasn't it called the Doomsday?
No,
Killers?
he was a split personality.
Yeah,
he
but they killed in regards to the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah,
was it the 10 Commandments killer?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. And it was like he had like these. It was like these like crazy like Batman villain style like things that he left behind with the killings, and it was like, how did you have the time and the energy and the effort to do stuff like that? Like,
I mean, but some of the stuff in The Walking Dead, some of the stuff in Dexter, like I didn't find like too outlandish. Like, I mean, the serial killers do weird shit like that, but for me, it was. This show just feels like I've just been hearing like a lot of rumblings, like I said, through social media, where people are just falling off. And Kirkman says that like he has an idea of where the show's going to end, but like I don't know, like he doesn't know exactly how much longer it's going to go on. So I don't know. I would just be afraid of this ending on a shitty note. That's all. I don't know how much longer you can really go with it.
I personally still think it's a juggernaut. People are going to jump off of any show. As long as the ratings are still there, they're going to keep making it. I don't think that it's going to die anytime soon. I think it's going to be around for a few more seasons at least.
Yeah, but
you want to shake it up? I mean, people love zombies. They love the apocalypse. Kill Rick.
Yeah, I mean,
put somebody else in charge.
I wouldn't be surprised if they killed Rick, man, because he voiced like a couple seasons ago, he was like not sure if he wanted to play the character anymore. I mean, basically like Andrew Lincoln is Rick Grimes. He is Rick Grimes for the rest of his life. That's all he's going to be known as. So as an actor, he's kind of fucked because that's like anybody who plays like Daniel Craig, James Bond. Like if you play a character for so long, that's the only thing you're going to be known as, and it's going to be hard for people to see you as anything else. Mm-hmm. Tobey Maguire is always going to be Spider-Man to me. And what is he doing now? Nothing. It's hard to see him as anything else. So I don't blame Andrew Lincoln for wanting to get out and try to play another character. So,
but I think that's
we'll see what happens. I mean, he's a main character. I wouldn't be. It's like a double-edged sword, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they killed him, but I would be at the same time. I don't know.
I think it comes down to your skill as an actor, though, too. Like, I mean, for instance, Mark Hamill should be Luke Skywalker every time I see him.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen him in roles that. Like you don't see Luke Skywalker anymore. You see whoever he wants you to see.
The Joker.
Or
you don't see his face though. You just hear his voice.
But his voice is classic whenever you think of the Joker now, I think.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
exactly.
But thinking of Mark Hamill.
Or the Trickster.
But my point is I think that's a little bit easier it's easier for somebody to actually see him as something different because you don't see his face. You just hear a voice that doesn't sound anything like him. So if you're constantly looking at somebody's face, like, Mark Hamill in a movie as another character, there's going to be points where you're going to be reminded of Luke Skywalker. For instance,
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale is a completely different completely different situation because he was playing multiple different characters before he was Batman, and he did different roles while he was Batman. That is, and he also like changes his entire body. Like, that's somebody that I think is on another friggin' realm. Like, I watch movies with him in it, and I forget that he was Batman.
Michael Keaton,
I see him, still think Batman. Still think Batman when I watch him. There isn't.
I think Gung Ho.
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to. I mean, this is all up to interpretation,
right?
I mean, we could talk about this all day. But I just hope that The Walking Dead ends on a strong note, I guess is my point.
I don't think there's any other way it can do it.
Yeah. So I don't know, guys, keep watching The Walking Dead, and I guess, we'll find out what happens together.
Hey guys, speaking of Batman, since we brought up Christian Bale, just made me think of what's going on in the comics with Batman right now. Like I mentioned a while ago that he was proposing to Catwoman and they left it on a cliffhanger. We didn't get the answer or whatever. Well, he actually asks her to wait to give him the answer because he wants to tell her some things about his past, like a dark secret that he has. And it turns out that dark secret, over the issues that come, there's like a 6-issue or 5-issue series called The War of Jokes and Riddles. But at the end, he basically attempts to murder the Riddler based on some things that happened in that story that drove him to that response, which was out of character for him, but he sees that as out of character and he recognizes that, and he's like, it's dark for him, and he doesn't want her to go into the marriage thinking that he's this person that would never do something like that without knowing that he did. So he tells her, and she's just like, oh, no biggie, and she kind of explains to him how she feels, and it's a touching moment, but she says yes. He asks her again, she says yes, and now they're engaged. Well, what's cool about that is it set up this really cool dynamic between Batman and Superman in a new story by Tom King, who started this whole Batman getting married thing. And Tom King basically is now exploring the relationship between Batman and Superman in a story called Super Friends that started last month. And it's just cool, man. It's like a really cool story because now Batman doesn't tell Superman that he's engaged, but people know that he's engaged. And Superman's just like, it literally starts off with him saying, that he hasn't called him yet. Well, he hasn't called me. And so I'm not getting into it. And Lois is just like, well, you could call him. You know what I mean? And now it just starts this thing. And the coolest thing about the story in this issue is it kind of goes back and forth. You see Lois talking to Superman about hey, you can call him and you can find out what's going on. And it switches automatically to Batman talking to Catwoman, and Catwoman's like, why haven't you called him yet? And she's trying to figure out what's going on and why he's not talking to his best friend. And it's just so interesting to see how they're playing off each other in this situation because it's very realistic.
I always love when they humanize superheroes because most people, they look at them as just the mask and fighting crime and beating the crap out of each other. But then when you get to learn the psyche of the character and that in reality, their alter egos are really them and they're a lot like us. They're just stronger.
Right.
It's funny because, I also find it interesting. I think this is interesting. I do. Mm-hmm. But there's also the part of me that, when you first told me this, I was laughing because it's when you say Batman, I know you're talking about Bruce Wayne, but when you say,
I'm talking about Batman because Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Right, but. All right, but I mean, Bruce Wayne is the human character that, you know what I mean? But I also think of when you're talking about this, I just picture the dude in the mask being why hasn't he called me? It's so it's hard for me to kind of picture him having this conversation because I'm picturing the dude in the suit.
Well, that's the thing. He's not saying that. Catwoman's saying that.
No, I know. That was just a line that I threw out. But you know what I mean?
He's not worried about it.
I haven't called him because he hasn't called me.
Well, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So that in a sense is funny to me. But I guess I don't read the comics at all. Enough to know that this is actually a legit storyline.
Right.
So I didn't know that. In my head, I'm ignorant to this. I think that they're still just fighting crime, that's what Batman does, I didn't know that they got this deep into who they are as intimate relationships, cross section with friends and their relationships and them judging each other. This is a whole nother layer,
right?
Where it also seems this is the days of our lives, side of Batman that I didn't even know was a thing. So I think it's cool they're doing this because it actually, adds another layer to them as people. But I mean, like, I never would have expected that. So when you threw this out, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, and he's
you know?
legit like he's actually fighting crime while while
think,
Catwoman is like having this conversation with him. And like one of the coolest things about it is like the dynamic between the two of them, like being so parallel. Like when you look at one and like they flip over to the other one, they're having the same conversation. And Catwoman actually thinks that Batman won't talk to Superman about the engagement because he's embarrassed or ashamed that, you know, she's a criminal.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lois is talking to him and he's like, well, I don't want this criminal to know who I am. Right. Mm-hmm. And Lois is just like, she probably knows who you are. And like, it flips back over to them. And like, Catwoman's just like, well, if you're worried about that, then I can tell you, I already know it's him. And like, she's like, think about it, you know, reporter that only writes about Superman.
yeah.
And he looks just like him, and he's just got glasses and his hair slicked back. He said, "I know it's him."
Yeah, he has never done a good job.
At least they address that in the comic books.
Yeah, and she's so you know, you might as well just talk to him if that's what you're worried about. And it's like, it's just this like back and forth thing, and then they finally all get together. They finally all get together at the end of the book, like on like a matter of circumstance. It's not because they set up the meeting. And like you see, it's just a cool moment. Like you see Lois and Catwoman introduce themselves to each other.
I was going to ask you, like, how do you see this like ending? But they did like actually resolve it.
And it doesn't. No, it's not resolved. Like they actually like at the end of that book, they talk about going on like a double date.
Oh, all right.
As their alternate personality. So like Bruce and Clark and Lois and Selena are all going to go on a double date, and that's going to be in the next issue. Awesome. So it's going to be, I think it's like a either a 3-issue or 6-issue arc. And you know, by the end of it, like we're going to know a lot more about that relationship between all 4 characters.
What I'm going to find funny is the actual wedding. Like, is it going to be like, I, Batman, take you, Catwoman, to hold and to cherish through sickness and in health.
And then Superman like flies them to the honeymoon, then he comes back.
Like, are they going to wear the rings on the suits?
Probably.
They always have like what's going to be like that situation is going to be funny to me because I know like on the covers.
Oh, the cover will definitely have them at the altar
in their costumes.
Of course.
The covers always do, and it's like mad funny.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the crowd, like their guests, like
are all
in costume,
superheroes.
And, so I don't know if it's going to be like that or if it's going to be them like as Bruce and Selena.
I guarantee you, in this cover, it's going to have Batman, Catwoman. On one side of the pews is all the superheroes, and then on the other side, on Catwoman's side, is going to be all the villains.
Oh, that's dope.
That's actually a cool cover.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
So just quickly, what has been like the general response of like the public about this? Like, is it getting a good?
People love this shit.
Okay,
man.
cool, man.
And that's the thing. Like, so this type of story, and I said it in the message that I sent to you guys. This type of story. I mean, I wish Batman v Superman was this.
Yeah, you did
like,
say that. Yeah,
from beginning to end, like just Batman and Superman, like kind of at odds because of something silly like this, and just them like having like a human moment throughout the entire movie. I would have been happy if they never threw a punch. Mm-hmm. Like. And that's what I want more of in the DC universe on film, because we get that in the Marvel stuff. Like we get that conflict between them as people, and Captain America and his personality and what he expects and what his beliefs are, and Tony Stark and all of his beliefs and what he respects and what his attitude is towards things. And when they disagree and they clash, it's such a natural thing. Because them, right?
Yeah, you already have their background set up.
Where with Superman and Batman, it's just literally like, oh, I kidnapped your mother, go fight him. And they go fight, and he says Martha, and they stop fighting. And it's like, what the frig? I don't know anything about these two people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I never really thought about that.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, but I completely agree. It's kind of like how many people are waiting for Bruce Banner and the Black Widow to finally come together and say, hey, we actually love each other.
Right.
You really don't get that real humanizing, like that deep emotion from the DC comic movies. At least not yet. Hopefully that's coming. But they've definitely made it deeper in the Marvel
And the
world.
only time that they did that, it was out of place. It was in the Wonder Woman movie. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, well, now... Yeah, she has the love interest because she needs that, right? It just, I don't know, man. Like their decisions bother me, not necessarily the quality of their films. Like, I mean, their movies lack that human character. They're awesome to watch. They're awesome to look at. Their special effects are great.
Yep.
It's just that humanizing piece, and I want that. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm. Got you, man. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to hear more about this because it's just a very interesting layer to like all of these characters that I didn't even know was a thing. So this should be pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, with that being said, I think that's all we got this week.
That's it.
On the RedBeard Podcast. Guys, we've been releasing interviews every week. We got one more interview that we're going to release, but it's not going to be till next week. So make sure you check us out next week where we will release the interview that we did with the Ghost Hunters. And with that being said, everybody have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you next week.
Kwanzaa Hanukkah.
Later.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the RedBeard Podcast. And remember, please make sure to like us on our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes to make sure you get all of our latest videos and episodes. And you can always find us and comment on anything we've talked about or what you'd like to hear at redbeardpodcast.com.